Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. We have video today. Isn't that so exciting? It's been a while since we had video. I'm not gonna lie, it was because I just didn't want to set things up. Also, we were in the middle of a move, but it's been way before that I stopped the video. It was just kind of becoming a lot, and I was like, no, I just want to focus on the recordings. But now here we are. We're in a better place and we have a little bit more time, a little bit better setup. It's not how I want it to be final, but we're getting there. And I also want to tell you about I am going to be starting mini episodes on Thursdays. It's going to be exclusively on my YouTube channel, and it will just be like video, and it's not going to be on like Spotify or like any of the streaming, like listening. It's not going to be on that. They're going to be exclusive to YouTube, and they will be books that maybe I don't want to do like a full episode on, or they're like really, really exciting books that I can't really tell you that much detail about them. So I really want to start doing that. So the first one will be on Thursday, and that will be strictly be on YouTube. Find Me in a Book podcast. It will have video, it will have audio, obviously, and I'm excited to do this. So watch for that. I think I'm trying to decide what I want my first episode to be, because TBH, I love to procrastinate. So of course I haven't done anything about the Thursday episodes yet, but that's fine. I did read Quicksilver by Callie Hart. That book has gone all around TikTok. It's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. I want to say, oh my gosh, where do I even want to rank it? It was so good. I haven't read a fantasy book like that. Have the first one be so solid like this in a long time. And I know that there's going to be multiple books, but it definitely could have stopped after this first book. So I don't know if the second book is going to be about additional characters, or if it's going to be about the main characters still, because I could see either one and I would be happy with either one. I loved the characters. I love the storyline. It literally does not let up. There's no pauses in the storyline. You're never bored in it. And I think my first mini episode will be on it. So will be for Quicksilver. Just because I really can't tell you a lot about it, but I want to tell you about it, my thoughts and feelings. So I think that will be the first one. I also read Au Pair. I think that's how you say it. Isn't it French? I don't know. Au Pair by Tessa Bailey, her new one that came out. Ugh, I read it in one day. I'm not even joking. I read it during lunch. I read it when we were really slow at work. I read it the rest of that night. It was so good. I have been looking forward to that book for so long. Well, since I read Fangirl Down and knew what the next one was going to be about. It was so good. I want to say it's a little bit more serious, definitely more serious than Fangirl Down. I liked the characters. I don't know if I don't know if I could choose between either one. I think the Fangirl Down made me more giddy and excited and just happier. And then the Au Pair one, it was really good characters, really great. It was just a little bit more serious content that I was like, oh, okay, interesting. I'm not mad at it, but it's whatever. So, that one I think will either be a full episode or mini. I'm not sure yet. I'm just, trying to make all my lists and everything. Let's see. Also, my best friend and I, Kat, we listened to The Butcher and the Blackbird. If you can see my face right now, I was shocked. I was like, Kat, what am I listening to? Because I know that I had attempted to listen to it or read it before, and then I just I think I stopped after the first chapter because I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm getting into. But I was like, she wanted to listen to it, and I was like, okay, I'll listen to it with you. Not for me. Not for me. Not not for me. It it was not for me. like, I feel like that's all I could really say because I think I will do a mini episode on it because I definitely don't want to commit a full episode to it because it was not for me, number one, which I've said that multiple times in the last 5 seconds. And so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because from as you can tell I'm not going to recommend it, but I don't it's not like I can't recommend it cuz like the story was good. There was a lot of flaws in it with like character wise and kind of like details about the characters and some things just like didn't make sense. But like if you love the show Dexter, you'll love this book. It was too gruesome for me, and it was just a little bit too past the line, and the sex scenes were a bit too much as well. So if you like things more extreme than I do, which I am very, minimal, then you might like it. But especially if you do like the show Dexter, then you definitely will like it because it's like that. It's like two serial killers going after other serial killers. So if you like that vibe, definitely go for it. Let's see. What's another book that I read this past? Honestly, these have been like the past week. That's why I'm telling you about them. Okay. But without further ado, I also was going to be doing a different book today, but then I started listening to The Coven by Harper L. Woods, and I was like, wait, no, I think I want to do this on the episode. And so I literally, if you can see the video, you can hear it. I have a scratch piece of paper. It's like a notebook or a notebook page from like my work notebook because I was listening to the book today. It's like an 8-hour book. I started it a little bit last night. And when I woke up today, I was listening to it as well. And I was like, I think I could finish this today. And I think I could do an episode on it because I want to say that this book was pretty popular when it first came out. And I want to say it stayed like pretty relevant. I would say it probably gets more popular towards like the fall just because it is about witches, which that intrigued me from the very beginning. And Kat is also listening to it today. I just like went way ahead of her because she had like work stuff that she had to do, which I did too, but I listened as I worked. And anyways, it's whatever. So she's like in the middle of it right now and texting me. And I'm like, yeah, just wait. Just wait. It was a doozy. Like, yeah, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that book today. And I apologize if my notes and my thoughts are just not organized because I'm literally reading it off of like a piece of paper of like the thoughts that I jotted down throughout the day. It was a weird feeling putting the word sex on a piece of paper at work. So I had to, try and be sly about it. Not that there's anyone really around me, but I still had to be like, okay, I feel weird like saying this or like writing it. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So one downfall about listening to a book is that I can't go back and really reference places. Like if I'm like, oh, who's this person? I forgot. Like I can usually skim through the pages and like the name catches my eye and then I can read more about it. It's way more difficult when you're listening because you're like halfway through and you're like, oh crap, like I still don't know who Charlotte is. And at the very end of the book, like like they mentioned this Charlotte and I'm like, I still don't know who this is. And so before this episode, I had to like go through my Kindle app because I have the book as well. I had to go through my Kindle app, go into the book, and then like type out like search Charlotte, and then all the different pages that has her name on it popped up. And so I'm like, okay, good. Now I can like see like who is Charlotte, which we will talk about who Charlotte is. It's very, very interesting once kind of everything like connected. This book will make you go, oh, like it will make you do that. Like it's like that throughout the whole book where you're like, oh, I don't know if I really like this, especially with the main male character. His name's Alaric, but he goes by Gray in this book. And it's mostly with him that you're like, oh, I think I like it. No, I don't like him. Oh, maybe he's okay. No, he's not okay. Like, and I didn't get that until like halfway through. And then that's when Kat was starting to listen. She's like, did you look at the trigger warnings? And I was like, No, I did not. So I went back to look at the trigger warnings, and it does warn you about the main male character and how he is. And I'm like, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. So before you read this book, please look at the trigger warnings, because there are some situations where I'm like, that is very gray area. Like events happen that you're like, ooh, I don't feel good about that. And then a couple sentence, I guess you could say, justifies it. That sounds like the worst word to say for it, but it's like a situation that you're like, ooh, that doesn't sound like consent. And then afterwards, I think she says a sentence where it like makes it okay, or that she did really consent, but there wasn't really, you know what I'm saying. Like, you know what I'm getting at, that it's like a couple sentences after these things happen that you're like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to be okay with this now, like, because the main character said like, oh, and then I felt this and this. It's like, I don't know, like, maybe say that before this situation happens. Because he has a lot of control problems. He's a vampire, which I will say that we'll get into that. The main, like, Gray, he's a vampire. He is like over 300 years old. He's like very powerful. He's the headmaster of this witches school. And yeah, he has control issues and also like very possessive. And when you think about it, the vampires, like, they don't have souls. They don't have feelings. They're heartless, obviously. And so when you put that into it, it's like, okay, yeah, he would act like that because really they're just living for this blood of the witches. That's who nourishes them. So why should they, be humane? They're not human anymore. So I just had to keep thinking that, like, okay, this is why he's acting like this. Okay, that's fine. He's not my favorite character that I've ever read about. He's really not. Neither of them are. I do like the main male character. She is Willow. I do like her a lot, actually. She's very much like no business, no like funny business. She has a task. She has a mission. She knows what she needs to do. She does get played along the way, but I feel like she adapts very quickly to the different like situations that she's in, that I didn't find her annoying. She doesn't whine. She doesn't complain. Like, she just figures it out. And I really like that about her. It's just the male character that I'm like, get him out. I don't like him. Like, I'm not on his side. And like I said before, sometimes you're on his side. Most of the time you're not. And by the end of the book, I was absolutely not on his side. But that intrigued me enough that I did download the second book. So I will say that. But let's get into this book. Now you kind of know my thoughts and feelings a little bit about it. This is not mother sister approved with the mother sister standard. I don't think either one of them would like this. I think if there were less aggressive situations and less swearing, then I think my sister would really like it. But because of like the trigger warnings and situations and language and just like it was an aggressive book that I really don't think either one of them would like it. So that's a no on them. Spicy. It's spicy. Like, it doesn't have a lot of spicy scenes, but when there is, again, it's like, is this consent? I don't know. This is really pushing the line. There's a lot of gray area with the sexual scenes in here that I just want you to be aware of. That it's like, with the language, it's kind of crude with the language that's used. It's not like, I'll compare it to Quicksilver, the book that I read. I freaking loved those sex scenes. That sounds so weird. But Callie Hart, how she wrote her sex scenes, like the spicy scenes, the sexual tension, y'all, I need that in every book. I need it in every book because it was like incredible. Like, some of it was way too flowery that I was like, okay, this is weird. But also I was on the devil's lettuce too when I read a lot of it, that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So if you're into that, which I probably shouldn't promote that, and I'm not, but it does make books even better. I was on the herb, another word for it, while I listened to A Court of Thorn and Rose, or not Court of Thorn, the Throne of Glass series. I was there with the characters. I was in those battles. I was right next to Aelin. I was there. I was there. And I think that's why I'm still so obsessed with that series, because I just like it just felt so real and so raw that I'm like, this was the best experience. Yeah. Okay. Back to this book. Again, these notes are from a piece of paper from a notebook in my work notebook. This doesn't make sense. I apologize if I get facts wrong. I apologize again. Just put it down in the notes or like comments on YouTube. Let's just say that. If you ever have any like comments or questions, go to the comments in YouTube. That's the best way, because I'm not very consistent about posting on like Instagram and TikTok. Like we just need like an overall place that you can go. So go to YouTube. That's where you can write if I do things wrong. That's a safe place for that. Okay, so we know about Willow. We know a little bit about Gray. And it opens up that Willow is at her mother's graveyard, her funeral. And her mother was a witch, and she passed down from one of like the strongest witches line. There's 12 families in the witches' coven. Or I don't know if like each line, like each family line is a different coven. That's what I'm guessing. So there's like 12 covens, but her mother, I guess, didn't agree with like the main witches, which are called the Covenant. It's like a board of directors, I guess you could say, for the witches. She didn't agree with any of like their choices or like how they were being taught, and so she left a long time ago and has hid her two kids. Her first child, which is Willow, was with a guy that we don't like him. He's still kind of relevant in the picture. He's just was a really bad dad and like knew that Willow had all this magic, and so he would like make her do these fights but then hide it from her mom. It was just a bad dude. So I don't know if they split. I'm guessing they got divorced. Then was with Ash's dad, which Ash is her little brother, Willow's little brother, and I want to say he's like 10 years old. So I don't know what their relationship was, if she just had him. I don't know. So she had faked her death when leaving the coven and protected them, just protected their magic. She taught Willow all about like the Covenant people, like the board of director people, and just all about being a witch and just really embracing everything. And we kind of learn in the very beginning, but you don't really understand it until like the end, that Willow actually comes from two families, two strong lines. So her dad, let me back up a little bit. So apparently in a family, if there is a male born, a male witch, once they come of age, then they take most of the magic of the family. And so a lot of the time, these women witches, if there was a boy like born, they would like murder their brother because they would want the magic for themselves. And I guess that was really common. But of course, Willow didn't want to do that. She loves her brother. There was like a choice with male witches, or I think they call them like sorcerers or warlocks, maybe. I don't really know the right term that they use. I've heard both in like different books, but I can't remember what they used for this. When Willow's father grew up and became of age, he didn't inherit any of the magic, and his sister Lorelai did. And he was like really upset about it. So I think that's why he was also like picking on Willow, because he assumed or he knew that Willow was going to inherit all that power too. Willow's mom comes from the Hecate line. This is where I get confused. It's either her dad, like her dad's sister, so her Aunt Lorelai. I think either she came from the line of like the Hecates, or Willow's mom did. One of them did. And this Hecate is Charlotte, which I was like looking up because I couldn't understand really what her story was or relation. She made a deal with the devil, like a bargain, so that she could be immortal. And that created the first vampire. They're supposed to like coexist, that the vampires feed off the witches, but the witches didn't have a say in any of this. I want to say that Charlotte went against all of them and made this deal. And so now everyone's just kind of had to like deal with the consequences of her doing this. And they all hate the vampires, but they tolerate them because of this bargain, I want to say. And part of this bargain is that there is a reaping. I don't know how often the reaping happens. I want to say like once a month. But this is where it really honestly reminded me of Handmaid's Tale, where they like, this was like really bothersome, but they like tie up the witch so that she can't really move, and they blindfold her. And then when the witch knows that they're chosen for that reaping, there's like a red mark on their door, and so then like they know that a vampire is going to come to them and drink their blood that night. And so they're like tied up and then blindfolded, and then a vampire just like comes in and like drinks their blood, apparently. And they can choose, like, depending on which dress they choose, either it's like just, hey, get in, drink my blood, get out, or they could wear a different color, and that means like, hey, I'm open to do some freaky stuff. So that was kind of disturbing to learn about. And so that was part of the bargain with the vampire and the witches. Willow grew up knowing that she needed to get these bones from, I want to say that they were Charlotte's bones or this like bag of bones. Maybe Lorelai had them as well. Maybe that's what it is. I think Lorelai, she's related to the Hecate. And so each witch in the generations would carry this bag of bones. And so it would be passed down, passed down, passed down, and then Lorelai had them, and then they kind of just disappeared. And so that makes more sense. That's why Willow is looking for them, because she knows there's this prophecy that a person born of two lines can destroy the vampires. And so that's what Willow grew up knowing, is that she needs to find these bones so that she can basically unmake these vampires. Once her mom does die, like officially, she's not faking her death or anything, at the beginning of the book, that's when Willow knows, like, okay, everything needs to be set into motion because they can now feel my power. They're now going to come after me, like the Covenant people, the Covens and the witches and everything. They're going to come after me. So she sends Ash off to his dad's, but not before Alaric Thorne. That's the headmaster. He goes by the name of Gray, though. So we're just going to say Gray. He comes with a couple of his vampires, and he's like, hey, we're taking you to the school. Like I'll drag you. And they also, like, they have the opportunity to kill her brother. I don't know what the specifics are about that. I want to say it's because of like the power. They don't want her to lose her power or something. And so he's like, hey, I won't touch your brother, because she wanted to hide her brother, because a witchling is supposed to be at these schools. And so she wanted to hide him. Gray is like, hey, if you come with us with no fight, like, we will leave your brother alone. Like, he'll be with his dad. Everything will be fine. And she's like, fine, that's fine. So she knows from her father that she needs to get buddy with Gray and seduce him so that she is also able to find these bones. So I don't know if it really was her mom's plan before, or maybe it was like her dad's plan before, because once you kind of like go through the whole book, then you kind of start to think like, maybe her dad, like, we know he's not a good guy anyways. They make it to the school. She is a legacy because she comes from one of the original witches, and this school has been shut down for a while. It doesn't really say why, I want to say it's like for the protection of the witches. Maybe they were getting singled out, but now it's opening back up. So one witch from each line is permitted, or maybe it's two witches. No, it's one witch from each line is able to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe it's 6. Maybe it's 2 of each. I don't know. I want to say it's like 2 witches per house, and so 12 in general. We'll just say 12 in general are attending. So these vampires, they are called vessels. So as you go through the book, they say vessels a lot. That just means they're a vessel for this demon, this vampire demon. And as the body decays, then they go into a different vessel. I guess that's how it works. One of the things that was kind of disturbing as well is that, yes, her dad or whoever told her that she needs to seduce Gray to get buddy-buddy with him. And so she immediately starts doing that. And you don't really know, I don't know, you can't really tell like when she is doing that and when she like means it, because throughout this whole book, she says that she hates him like constantly, but yet she like acts this way towards him to like lead him on, and it does work, and he's like just really aggressive about it. And so I had a lot of mixed emotions about their little like relationship, because she comes on to him, and so he takes the bait and is very like aggressive, but then she's like, I hate you, get off me, da 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 da. And I'm like, I'm so like, what do you want? Like, I don't know what you want. It was very confusing. I couldn't tell when she was happy and when she wasn't, and I was just there. I did like the overall arc of witches. I did really like that they originated from Salem, and a lot of the founding families, or the strongest families, got out so that they weren't like burned or anything. I did really like that. We learn more about like the different types of witches that there are. And I don't know if like within these families it's like an either or. So they said like crystal and cosmic. So maybe you'll have like both of these elements or something. Crystal and cosmic, water and fire, air and earth, life and death, which they say that the life and death one, it could be referred to as like sex and necromancy, which is interesting. They don't go into any more details of those houses, of those elements, so I don't really know. I want to say that I'm pretty sure that Willow is air and earth though, and she definitely uses like the branches and the earth to like heal her and help protect her. So I thought that was really cool, a really cool thing to bring into it. See, my notes here say that with Charlotte Hecate, she was given 1 bloodline but 2 points of balance, which I don't know what that means. And then the magic passed on through her. Her bones were calling to Willow, and Charlotte's death brought the vessels. Maybe there weren't supposed to be vessels or vampires, but because like maybe the deal was broken or something happened that I just didn't hear, that's what brought the vampires. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong about this. So I don't even know if she goes to classes yet. I want to say that she goes to a couple classes, but there wasn't a lot of detail on that, because all of a sudden witches are dying. Like there was one witch that died that her heart was missing. And then you kind of like forget about it for a while, because like other things happen in the story, but yet the storyline wasn't really progressing very quickly, because it's just like between her and Gray, like back and forth. And it's like, do we hate him? Do we like him? Do we hate him? Do we like him? And that was like the majority of the story. And then all of a sudden another witch dies that you're like, oh yeah, okay, so is that supposed to be the main plot, or is this like a side plot? And then their liver was missing. And it's like, okay, well, someone's killing these witches and taking these organs out. They go through the reaping. There wasn't a lot of detail about that. Like there was some things that happened because Gray was the one assigned to her, but she just doesn't know it because like her blindfold was on. And it's actually kind of sad, because when she's getting ready for the reaping, like she doesn't really know what she's doing, and a different witch comes in and like is helping her and like putting the blindfold on, and she like has a panic attack because I think something has happened in her past that caused this panic attack. It doesn't go into detail at all. That's just kind of what you assume by this panic attack. And even Gray wonders as well, because he can tell that she's like panicking and really like scared. And so he doesn't pry, or because he doesn't want her to know that it's him that is there. But yeah, it's never brought up again. So I'm like, okay, like maybe she has a past that she's working through. Okay, interesting. At some point the story felt really stagnant, that I'm like, okay, can we like just keep going? It wasn't until it was like maybe the last 10 chapters that I was like, oh, okay, like, oh, things are happening. So one of the old covenants is like one of the old like the board of directors. They're like the original family members. And they're like basically bones right now, like literal bones. Like they're supposed to have this immortal life, but they're just skeletons at this point. So Susanna is the great 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 grandmother of Willow. I want to say that she is through Willow's mom's line. That would make sense. So she kind of has like a soft spot for Willow, but not really. She's very like very stern, very like cut and dry. And so she approaches Willow in the garden because no one apparently knows, and I didn't realize this until like that moment. Nobody knows that Lorelai is Willow's aunt, like that she is from that line of witches as well. They all just think that she is from Susanna's line. Susanna comes and finds her in the garden and is like, I found this picture and you look like Lorelai. Like, didn't you want to tell me what's going on? It's just a weird scene because Willow is very like stubborn about it and rude and basically like buries this lady alive. Like her bones and stuff, just buries her in the garden. Like as they were talking and like arguing, she's just burying her. I'm like, okay, wow, I didn't expect that. Interesting. And the last thing that Susanna says to her is like, you need to run. Like, if this is true, like, you need to run. And so she does run. She runs into this forest. Of course, there's werewolves. They capture her. And then Gray comes and finds her, saves her. But then it kind of starts everything up. I can't say more about it because there are so many things that happen right after each other that you're like, oh, wait, oh my gosh, oh, this, okay. And then a couple of minutes later, you're like, oh my gosh, okay. So there's another, like, so many twists, so many surprises, so many just abrupt changes that you're like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. What did I just listen to? And I was texting Kat, and I was like, oh, like, when you get to this point, like, oh my gosh. And yeah, and then it literally was like the last 10 chapters that really hooked me, that I was like, okay, I'm in it for the next book. Like, I'm in this. Okay, you got me. So yeah, that's where we are now. There is a lot of stuff that happens at the end of it that you're like, I don't know how this story's gonna go. Just so many little details too that you're like, oh, what does that mean? Yeah, it was a ride. It really was. I won't say that I loved this book, but enough happened at the end that I was like, okay, I just need to know what's going on. Just a little peek or something. So yeah, it was interesting. If you love witches, this is definitely a dark romance. Dark romance. Not the darkest I've ever read. You know the darkest I've ever read. But it was a lot. But I definitely don't think that it wasn't a pretty story. It wasn't flowery. It wasn't like happy, everybody gets a happy ever after, everybody like is just super great. It's not that at all. Like, it is a definition of a dark romance, so just take that into mind. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to say about this book. It was a ride. It was interesting. The characters were not my favorite, but I was on board by the end. I would recommend it if people like a witches dark romance. I would recommend it. It's a solid read. Like, I liked the writing. Everything wasn't I think it was just because I listened to it that I got confused a lot. But I think if I would have read it, I think would have understood a lot more. And so take that in mind. But yeah, like the storyline was great. The timing and pacing was a little bit not my favorite. It kind of got slow in spots, but for the most part, it ended out great. Yeah, that's all. That's all I have to say about that. So whatever you want to do from that, it's a lot to take in. Because I literally just finished it like an hour ago. That I'm like, okay, I'm still processing my feelings. Because I'm not even joking. Like a lot happened at the end. A lot happened. It just made it exciting. It just pulled you in, and I think that was the point of it. So, anyways, welcome back to the videos. Welcome back to just listening to this podcast in general. I hope you enjoyed. Follow me on all social medias, especially on YouTube. That's where a lot of things are going to start going down. And wherever you listen or watch this podcast, if you could rate and review, that helps me out a lot. I love that. And yeah, I just hope that you have a great week.